Hello, I'm Dr. Gloria Horsley.
And I'm her daughter, Dr. Heidi Horsley.
Heidi and I want to welcome you to Open to Hope Conversations, the podcast.
We believe that the greatest gift you can give yourself after a loss is hope, using this moment to connect with others who have not only survived but thrived.
So let's get started. Welcome to the Open to Hope show. I'm your host, Dr. Gloria Horsley, with my daughter and co-host,
Dr. Heidi Horsley.
Well, Heidi, we are going to have an interesting conversation today, and our topic's going to be Young, Black, and Widowed. And we are going to be talking about a fabulous organization that's just been started a few years ago that is really revolutionary. But before we get started with the show, I wanted to remind you that my fiance, Frank Powers, and my new book, Open to Love, The Secrets of Senior Dating, is out. And you know, Heidi, I went to my chiropractor today, and I had given her a book, and I write in the book, because she's married, I just write in the book, if this book comes into your hands and you have found hope in it and looking for a partner, please put it in the hands of someone who is looking for love. So she said to me, you know, Gloria, I gave the book to my sister-in-law. My sister-in-law was going on a cruise. And I said to her, what do you expect to come from the cruise? Her brother has passed away. And her sister-in-law said, I hope to find a partner. And she said, well, I've got a book for you. And she said, and then I opened it up and read what you wrote. Please put it in the hands of someone looking for love. Well, guess what, Heidi? She went on the cruise and she found somebody in her life.
I love it. That is such a great story.
Yeah. And so if you're looking for love and to alleviate loneliness, or if you know somebody who is, go to Amazon and get our book, Open to Love, The Secrets of Senior Dating. Okay, Heidi, would you like to introduce our very dynamic guest today?
Okay, Mom, sure. Today, like you said, we're going to be talking with Azuráe Johnson Redmond. We're going to be talking about young, Black, and widowed. Azuráe lost her husband to lung cancer in 2017. At the time, she was only 27 years old, Mom, and pregnant with her second son. And I think her oldest was 10 months. This experience inspired her to start the progressive nonprofit Young, Black, and Widowed, which provides peer support and programs to over 3,000 widows and widowers. She leads the International Modern Widows Club nonprofit global Black Widows community. She also serves as a regional peer support group leader for Soaring Spirits, and she wrote the foreword and was a contributing author for the book Widowed Parents Unite with Jenny Lisk, who has also been on our show. So welcome to our podcast, Azuráe.
Thank you so much for having me.
Wow, Azuráe, you're kind of an amazing person. Your husband passed away.
It's actually almost 7 years ago.
3.5 years ago, you started the nonprofit. So you've waited for 3 years in dealing with your loss to get ready to do that. What support did you have before you started your nonprofit?
What support did I have for myself? Oh, I
Mhm.
had a wonderful psychologist named Dr. David Soloway. He has since retired, and I wish him all the best in the world because he has been with my family and supporting us for many years.
Ah,
And I also wanted to start a support group that serves all ages, all nationalities, all faiths, and all orientations of widows and widowers, just with a very inclusive, progressive edge, with it being secular, so that it would be even more inclusive. So that's why I started Young, Black, and Widowed, so that I could provide this peer support for so many people, and of course, one-on-one grief coaching as well.
now when you were widowed, do you think the Black experience was different for you?
I do think that it's a little bit different. I do live in Chattanooga, Tennessee. So, one of my experiences was the stigma that comes with being a single Black mom, even if that's being
Mhm.
a widowed solo parent. One of the things that a lot of people try to avoid, even though there is no right way to live anyone's life at all, was to try to avoid being a single Black mom, because it does come with a lot of stigma and a lot of pain that other people don't necessarily have to deal with.
Now, how do you see that? How does that manifest itself?
It can manifest itself at school functions.
Mm.
It can manifest itself even just walking down the street with your children. Personally, I still wear my wedding rings because the perception of being a single Black mom is actually um, very negative. And also, as a
Mm.
person that earned a degree in chemical engineering and as a homeowner, etc., um, immediately when things happen, like just after when things happen, when you're put on assistance, when people are aware that you receive any assistance, even though it's quote unquote not my fault. Though
Mhm.
in most circumstances, it's never anyone's fault. That perception actually comes through even in the doctor's office, seeing that
Really?
children have what the example of it is here, 10 care. Um, it happens at the dentist office. So being in that position and being judged as such, even though
How do you know? How would you know at the doctor's office? What would people do or say?
it's more of a discussion of, surprise, that, I've gone places and had people surprised that both of my children even have the same last name as me, and saying that out loud, saying, "Wow, I'm really surprised that your children have good health care and that you're able to get them, my special needs child, to different appointments, etc." And generally, you do lose a lot of married friends when you're widowed just
Mm.
because they knew your spouse. And
Right.
so now when you're present, that actually brings up sadness for them. So even though it's not, rooted in a lot of things, I lost a lot of my support immediately because I was no longer married. And for example, one of the churches that my husband and I attended for 3 years, that was just down the street, the night my husband died, they said, "Hey, just want to let you know that this married Sunday school class that you're a part of, you can't be a part of anymore. You need to go to the single Sunday school class." So of course, I
Wow.
never went back to that church. And that
Mm-hmm.
was the last thing on my mind, when the night that I was widowed was where was I going to go to church? So,
Right.
I think the over sexualization of Black women in general also plays a big part into that. People very much assuming that, oh, because I'm in a room or if I'm even talking to someone at a networking event, assuming that I'm trying to talk to their husband, which is not at all the case. So those are the places where I feel that the Black widows experience is a little bit different just because we have layered um, stigmas that we are unfortunately having to overcome.
That's really interesting. I can identify. My husband died 3 years ago, and I can identify with the loss of friends.
Mhm.
Um, totally. Yeah, and I could think I'm older, but I know friends of mine who are younger widows. There is that sexualization too of going, and sometimes couples don't want to have you there.
Yes.
They're worried, that you're going to hit on their husband or whatever. I've heard a lot of them tell me that. And you want to be who you are. I mean, you're super darling, and you want to be who you are, and you're young and vital, and gosh, I've got to come into the room and wear clothes up to my ears. And
I do that too. If I'm going to different events, I will literally wear clothes that cover all the way down to my um wrist to my neck. For example, in my child's wonderful Cub Scout troop, where none of these stigmas have popped up. But just because I've been so conditioned, it's now family camping. Boy Scouts has changed. So men and women are there as a family with their kids, sons and daughters. So I will actually make sure to wear not a swimsuit, but a full on.
Swim shirts.
Yes, that comes neck to wrist, and I'll wear, very loose shorts too, to make sure that
Wow.
it is
So
very obvious.
your husband died very suddenly. He
Yes,
was only 27 years old. Is that right?
he was actually, I was 27,
You were
he
27.
was 32.
Uh,
Wow. And he died of cancer, didn't he?
Yes, but it was actually very sudden. There was a
Mm-hmm.
mix-up at the Sarah Cannon Cancer Institute in Nashville, which reported that he had great health, but he did not. I would have really rather, instead of, we were celebrating that he was doing great, and we actually only had 2 months left, and I would have much rather him been at home on hospice rather than going to work. He actually did a presentation in Nashville on the day that he died. He
Wow.
came home and he went on a walk that his specialist doctor had recommended, and nearly passed away in someone's driveway, but ultimately was pulled from life support hours later by me.
um,
Well, that's unbelievable. When I'm hearing your story, I'm hearing that not only did you lose your husband, but you lost your community. I mean, at least initially your religious community,
Yes, actually
which
that
I
night.
think would be a place of support, right?
Yes,
So
but
that's
I
just,
will say other religious communities that I'd volunteered in
mm-hmm.
immediately popped in and
Oh,
took over.
good.
I was so surprised because I was just like, okay. But that church community where I'd volunteered with their children's group multiple times, they came in, they actually paid for my late husband's cremation. They helped baby proof the house a little bit more since my
Mm.
first child was only 10 months old, and they really went out of their way to be welcoming and support me for many years. And in fact, I made the main two people, Scott Stevens and his wife, they're actually my children's godparents now. So
Oh,
just
wow.
because one religious community fell short that I was expecting to have the most support from doesn't mean that another religious community did not step up immediately to the
Mm.
plate, talk to me, say, how can we help? And literally came to the house and was like, we're here to help. We're going to find things to be done and we're going to do it together. Let's do this.
mhm. You know, I found that you meet people who are great grief support, particularly when Heidi's brother was killed in an accident, what, 40 years ago. Um, I lost a lot of friends who couldn't handle it. And then
Mhm.
I found people who could stepped up, and I met new people that I never would have known ever.
Yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
created a completely new friend system, a completely new community, and it was wonderful to have that new community and also have people maybe not so affected by the grief. They might have heard about it, but because they didn't know us, since
Right.
we were so involved in the community, we were even big brothers, big sisters, mentors of the year just before we got married. There is a wonderful community out there, and I would say to any widows or widowers who may be listening that if you have lost your community, it's okay. There's a whole new community out there that can be built no matter where you live and no matter where you are. And that's one of the reasons why I started Young Black and Widowed as well, because so many people would understand exactly what I was going through and the different stigmas. And it has been so amazing to have built such a wonderful support system, not only for myself, but for thousands of people across the world.
I wanted to ask you a bit because I'm an older widow. I was let's see, I was 81 when my husband died. What do you think the difference between being a young widow and the older widows? What do you
Well,
see?
that's a really good question. Of course, I do call my nonprofit Young Black and Widow, but we serve all ages, all nationalities, faiths, etc. And I would say the big difference really is there's so many similarities, but I feel like there is a societal pressure on young widows to remarry. I mean, even
Mm-hmm.
last week, being nearly 7 years out, a person walked up to me and was like, "Oh, I see that your nonprofit's doing well, but how's your dating life?" And I don't actually even know that person at all. I mean, they're an acquaintance that I've seen in the community, but it's a very strange experience to have that happen so many times. It makes me want to say, well, how's your married life? I would never because I'm highly professional, but would we ask, how's your married life?
No.
a stranger, so why would they ask, how's your dating life? You
Well,
know?
and my mom and I have talked about this often because she's had personal and professional experience, but you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. You don't. In other
Yes.
words, if you date too quickly, people judge you.
Yeah,
Why
I
are you
do.
dating so quickly? It's too soon, etc. And then they judge you if they feel like you should be dating, right?
Exactly.
If they think it's too long. So people get into your business. It's interesting because, and you know this, mom, too, people have a lot of judgment around widows,
I was
right?
just going to say
And
there's a total difference between older widows and younger in this area, because older widows are said, don't date.
oh
I'm
yes, that
surprised.
happens a lot. I'm just
Oh,
like, it's up to
really? You're
you.
gonna, you were married that long and you're gonna go with somebody else, and I don't get it. And I knew your husband, and I don't have friends. I have friends that want to associate with me because I'm with a partner.
Oh yeah, it is
Totally said,
immediately out the gate. It is
oh,
immediately out the gate. They will see you the day of your husband's funeral and be like, so are you gonna start dating? It's just like, give me time. Yeah,
Mhm.
we literally just watched him be buried. We don't need to be worried about my dating life. So I'd say with younger widows, they also being a parent of such young babies, there's a big focus on, well,
course.
oh my goodness, they need a father. They have to have a father. You have to quote unquote replace the father. And if you don't, you're seen as living in a home that's not stable. Well, I would
Mm.
like to say to a lot of people that even though that was a very common idea for back in the past, my
Right.
children are thriving. We have a beautiful home. I was able to maintain and keep the home that my late husband and I bought together. We have fun and travel and do all of those things. So I
And
really wouldn't I would say a lot of people are just outright convinced they're surprised, one, that you can be happy and be widowed, two, that your kids can thrive, even with one kindergartner having a severe disability, that both are thriving and happy and positively progressing at school. One of my babies was even a student of the month at their school.
wow.
So I think that surprises a lot of people. And the
And
joy,
Azure, I've got to say, the research support does not support that. It supports the fact that you only need one
one,
stable parent in your life. I worked on a longitudinal study with Columbia University for 10 years with widows that had lost a father, a husband in the
mm,
World Trade Center. I worked with the kids for 10 years. You need one person that really believes in you and is there and supporting you.
and
So, like you said, your kids can grow up healthy and happy and well adjusted.
yeah, and I was in an ACES presentation that came to my child's
Hmm.
school when I
Yeah.
saw that exact, research, and I actually started crying because I didn't know. So many people had told me they were so worried, like, how can you raise boys, et cetera, et cetera. And when I saw that, and I was like, oh, so there is a chance that my kids can be okay, but they have mental health support through therapy. They are registered with Big Brothers Big Sisters. My late husband and I were a couples mentor to a child back before and during the early parts of our marriage. Of course, we had to stop when he had lung cancer, but you can enroll your child in that to get support. Big Brothers Big Sisters is a wonderful opportunity, and there's many other programs across the United States that can provide that mentorship. And again, I love having my kids in Cub Scouts because the
Hmm.
troop that they're in have such upstanding citizens who are beautiful families who work hard together, who respect each other, and who have built a beautiful family system. So there are other ways for your children to witness a husband, wife, or whatever style of partnership, and still have a positive um, life experience, still know about family values that are important to your family and be raised in that. So I think that's one of the differences
And
in being a young widow with children is the
mhm.
societal stigma of how can you be happy? How can you have a nonprofit? How can you volunteer? How can you do all of these things and have a disabled child not necessarily have a partner living in my house, and function so well, and just being very open about the fact that that's what I want, and it just being okay and being accepted that this is what works best, for me and my partner.
So interesting, the values and judgment we have, isn't it, for each other? Pretty incredible. Well, I want you to tell us all about your organization because there's so much you're doing. I mean, my goodness, you're doing a podcast and you're doing a blog and you have a call. I mean, people can call for support, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell us
So,
about everything you want people to know about.
well, our nonprofit has completed over 2,000 support groups. We have a support and 2,000 support line calls with 77 resulting in connection to crisis, voluntarily connected to crisis intervention. We received feedback that all 3,000 of our widows since the founding in 2020 have reported a greater sense of wellness and connectedness. We award the Matthew Holt Redmond Memorial Scholarship every other year to a widowed parent who has returned to university post-loss to help improve with generational stability and wealth. I have also facilitated several kiddos of the widowed playdates. One of my sons chairs that, and that's simply playdates across Chattanooga at the different museums and aquariums and playground hopping so that they don't feel so alone. It's not a peer support group, but it does help children know that they are not alone. And so we've done that for over 100 children. Again, as I said, we contributed to the book Widowed Parents Unite. Actually, several of us from Young Black and Widow contributed that, but I was so happy to be the forward writer. I also speak internationally at on several international stages, including Soaring Spirits Camp Widow. I was at Camp Widow Tampa, and I'll also be speaking at Camp Widow San Diego on their parenting panel. And then we actually recently initiated the International Black Widows and Widowers Mental Health Alliance. And so we get all of these coaches and speakers, et cetera, together. And we talk about what's going on in Black mental health for widows and widowers across the world. And then we also give awards. We've begun to look at and announce our first awardees for people who are making a huge difference, whether they're founders, coaches, artists, authors, etc. And mainly, and also people in the community that have supported us as well. I've earned the NAACP Ruby Hurley Image Award for community
Wow.
activism. And also we just earned the highest level of transparency, the platinum seal of transparency from Candid Guide Star as well. So we have so much going on and we love what we do. Even my husky dog does certified love on a leash therapy for the children of the widowed and also visits widows and widowers in the area. And of course, we have several partnerships that we work with people in the community so they can call in on that support line and say, well, what do I do? And we actually research no matter where they are in the world, and we'll try and find a food bank or what they need, if they need help of what do I take to the Social Security office, et cetera, compile it together and then go over it with them on the phone to actually help them with what their potential options are for what they should do now. So it's a really great one-stop shop that can send you off and refer you off into many different directions. And we absolutely love it. We love being that resource and that resource hub for people to come to when they need support.
Okay, where do we find you?
I'm listed at www.youngbblackwidowed.org. All of our handles for social media, such as Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, et cetera, all the way down the list. Even our podcast is Young Black Widowed, at Young Black Widowed. And honestly, if you want to connect with us from anywhere around the world, we're ready. We have multiple weekly support groups that we run, obviously, and all of them are weekly. And we, most of the time, the widows and widowers that we serve, when they start support groups with us, they stay with us on average for about 2 years. And we have newly widowed people, seasoned widowed people, and again, people of all walks of life, faiths, orientations, etc.
Fabulous. Well, we're going to see you at Soaring Spirits International in San Diego. You have got the dates of that. It's July.
July 18th through 20th, I believe.
And it's not too late to sign up. My
Oh,
family
yeah.
and I will be presenting. probably to the older widows, because now you have enlightened me on what some of the problems are. It's so fascinating that younger women are told to get married and older women are told not to. It's
Yeah.
like,
And I'll be on the parenting
like
panel
it's kind of
too, so
crazy.
great.
Anyway, we're looking forward to seeing you in San Diego, and thanks for all your good work, and you're adorable.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Azurae, thank you so much for everything you're doing. You're doing so much to just raise the vibration in the world. And thank you for giving people hope after loss.
Oh, you're so welcome. We are committed to advancing Black mental health worldwide.
I love it.
Wonderful.
We want to thank all of you for joining us show today, and Heidi and I want to always remind you that if you've lost hope, please lean on ours until you find your own, and God bless.
I'm Dr. Heidi Horsley. You have been listening to Open to Hope, the podcast. You can follow Open to Hope on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. To learn more, visit us at opentohope.com and go to Apple Podcasts to subscribe.
I'm Dr. Gloria Horsley. Join us again next week for another Open to Hope conversation, where we invite you to lean on our hope until you find your own.